students, welcome to next lecture 14. Okay, we will continue the rest part of the molecular luminescence spectroscopy part 2. Okay, so in the previous video we have seen the brief introduction between the photoluminescence, that is your fluorescence and phosphorescence. Okay, now this molecular fluorescence, it is called as optical emission. Okay, it is also a type of optical emission. Okay, and the advantage of this fluorescence detection. Okay, so one advantage of this is compared to the absorption, I can say, absorption compared to the absorption measurement is the greater sensitivity achievable. So it is having a greater sensitivity achievable. Okay, achievable. So if you consider the absorption spectroscopy, this optical emission spectroscopy has the greater sensitive achievable, because you can see the fluorescence signal, whatever the fluorescence signal is having, has a principal zero background. It is having zero background. Okay, and the analytical application the includes the measurement of molecules in solution, measurement of molecules. Okay, measurement of that's quantitative measurement, I can say, quantitative quantitative measurement of molecules in solution. Okay, in solution, and fluorescence detection in liquid, and fluorescence detection in liquid chromatography. Okay, so this is what. And if you see the reactions that produce light without the heat. Okay, if the reactions that produce light, okay, without heat without heat, it is called as a chemiluminescence. We call it as a chemiluminescence. Okay, so if any substance which produces the light without the heat, it is called as chemiluminescence. This photoluminescence application. Okay, apart from this, we can see that we can determine the band gap. Okay, this is used to determine the band gap determination. Okay, impurity level. So if you see impurity level, also you can determine impurity level. Okay, impurity level of some defect detection, or defect detection in solid. And third, we can see you can see material quality in determination of material quality. Okay, in material quality, recombinations or fluorescence occurring in simple as well as complex. You can see this fluorescence occurs in simple. Okay, in simple as well as in complex gases, liquid, and solid chemical system. So we can see that the fluorescence can occur not only in the simple form but also in complex form, like gas, liquid, and solid chemical system here. So this is what. One more thing comes is a resonance radiation. So you can take a resonance radiation. Okay, so this is one more thing, resonance radiation or resonance fluorescence. Okay, so what is this? This is a type in which absorbed radiation is emitted. Okay, absorbed radiation is emitted without change in frequency, without change in frequency. Okay, so this is important, which is called resonance radiation. Okay, or as I said, resonance radiation or resonance fluorescence. Okay, so whatever the absorbed radiation is there, emitted without change in the frequency. So this is. And if you see the molecular fluorescence or phosphorescence, okay, bands are found centered at the wavelength. Okay, that are longer than the resonance line. So as we discussed in the previous video, so whatever the wavelength that we are having after the emission, they are having of the longer than that of the resonance line. And this shift towards the longer wavelengths. Okay, so longer wavelength we are going to get, or lesser energy. Okay, after the fluorescence and phosphorescence process. In the yesterday's video we have seen that. And longer wavelength or less energy. Okay, whatever we get this this shift, we call it as a Stokes shift. Remember this shift, what we call as a Stokes shift. Okay, so we hit with the incident right to the ground, and it goes up here from excited. When it comes down, it emits the radiation, and this will be of longer wavelength but less energy. Okay, this will be of less wavelength. For example, it is 200 nanometer, so this will be 300 nanometer, like this. Okay, so this shift we call it as a Stokes shift. Okay, this shift we call as a Stokes shift. Now if you see the graphical presentation of this is relative intensity. So we are taking here as relative intensity versus wavelength, versus wavelength. Okay, and you can see here, so something like this you get here, something like this, like this. Okay, so this is your emission and this is your excitation. Okay, excitation and emission. So excitation has a fixed wavelength here and recording the emission. So excitation has the fixed wavelength we do, and we record the emission here. So we record the emission here. This is a wavelength 600 to 200, something like that, starting from. So you can choose, and this is a relative intensity. This is how the fluorescence spectroscopy we take it from the instrument. Okay, and the ratio at which the photon of radiation is absorbed, okay, requires so if you see the ratio at which the photon radiation absorbed, photon radiation absorbed, okay, so it is in the order of 10 to the power of minus 14 to minus 15 seconds. Okay, this is what. And on the fluorescence emission, on the other hand, this one fluorescence emission on the other hand occur at a slow rate. Okay, and lifetime of excited state is inversely proportional to molecular absorptivity of absorption, I can say. The lifetime of the excited state, lifetime of lifetime of excited state is inversely proportional to molar absorptivity of absorption. This is important. Okay, the lifetime of the excited state is inversely proportional, inversely proportional to molar absorptivity of absorption. Okay, absorbance, I can say. Now the peak corresponding to excitation process, quantum yield, this is a word we come here, quantum yield. Okay, this is a term we come sometimes when, or quantum efficiency, quantum efficiency. Okay, so this term comes in fluorescence, fluorometric molecular luminescence. For fluorescence and phosphorescence is it is simply the ratio of number of molecules, okay, number of molecules that luminescence to the total number of excited molecules, okay. So this is your quantum yield or quantum efficiency, we said. Okay, the quantum efficiency for highly fluorescent molecule approaches infinity. This is important. For highly fluorescent molecules approaches infinity, while the efficiency for chemical that do not fluoresce approaches zero. Okay, while the efficiencies for chemicals that do not approach the fluorescence, or do not highly approach chemical that do not fluorescence that do not fluoresce, I can say, will be zero, approach to zero. Okay, so this is what we study about the quantum yield or quantum efficiency. Now the most intense and most useful fluorescence is found in the compounds. Okay, so if you see the most intense and useful fluorescence is found in the compounds aromatic. Okay, aromatic having a functional group with low energy, okay, with low energy, like pi to pi star. Okay, transition level, pi to pi star transition level. So you can see this fluorescence is observed more. And even the compounds containing aliphatic and alicyclic carbonyl structure or highly conjugated, okay, highly conjugated double bond structure, this exhibit fluorescence. Okay, but the number of this is very small. Not all compounds of such kind will fluoresce, but only like coumarin we said yesterday. So like this, such compounds are having very good fluorescence, but they are in a small number. Okay, fluorescence and phosphorescence spectra involve excitation at fixed wavelength, while recording emission intensity as a function of wavelength. Like in the previous slide, in the previous this I showed you how the spectra is recorded. So you are having the source here. Okay, and from source you can have the excitation monochromator is here. Okay, then slit is there. From here again the radiation is there to sample. Okay, this is a sample cell will be there here. Okay, from sample cell again this slit is there, so from slit again it passes to emission now. So here it is emission here, which is monochromator. Okay, so emission monochromator is there, and from this emission monochromator detector will be there. Okay, and from detector you can say amplifier. Okay, and finally recorder. So this is a setup of the fluorescence instrument. Okay, so source is there, lamp will be there. From that the wavelength of particular, this will be there, that is excitation monochromator will be there. Again from that slit, the wavelength is passed to sample cell. Now sample cell to then emission is going to be recorded. From emission it goes to detector to amplifier, and then recorder. Okay, so this is what. Okay, so that's why we get the first like this excitation, then we get like this emission. Okay, so this is your excitation and this is your emission. So source, excitation, sample cell, emission, this is important here. Okay, so now here all fluorescent instrument has the double beam optics. So all these have the double beam optics. So they are having the double beam optics present to compensate the fluctuations in the from the source here. So this is what about I can say the instrumental part of the of the fluorescent meter here. Now if you see the source, okay, so usually they are using xenon lamp. Okay, xenon lamp is used. Okay, so the intense source is needed here, and tungsten of hydrogen lamp, and mercury vapor lamp equipped with fixed silica window is sometimes used. Okay, so this also is there, but usually the xenon lamp works out. Xenon arc lamp we see here. Okay, they have been used more. Okay, and even mercury vapor lamp also, in some case mercury vapor lamp equipped with fused silica. Okay, equipped with fused silica window, so with high pressure. So this also is being used. Okay, now this is out about the instrumentation, simple this one, so not more to exaggerate it here. Now if you go for now concluding here, so we will go for concluding remark now here for this part 2. Now luminescence is a spontaneous, this is important. Now remember this: emission, spontaneous emission. Okay, luminescence is a spontaneous emission of light. Okay, by the substance, not resulting from heat, not resulting from heat. This is you to remember. Okay, luminescence is a spontaneous emission of the light by the substance, not resulting from heat. Okay, so you heat then emit, no. So at cold condition only it emits. So that process we call it as a luminescence. Cold body radiation, we also call it as a cold body radiation. Okay, so it is also called as a cold body radiations. Okay, and it is caused by chemical reaction, electrical energy, subatomic motion, or stress on the crystals. So this we can say, so this can be caused by any chemical reaction, or electrical energy, or subatomic motion, subatomic motion or on the crystal stress on the crystal. So this is the cause for the luminescence here, so which is emission not resulting from the heat. Okay, so cooled body radiations, so with the causes for coming with caused by the chemical reactions, electrical energy, or subatomic motions or stress in the crystals. So this is what. And incandescent, so one more thing is that, what is this incandescence? This term you have to understand. Incandescence, SCENT, incandescent. Okay, incandescent substances. What is this incandescent? Which emits light. This also emits light. Incandescent substances as a result of heating. So if you heat more of a substance and it emits light, such type of substance we call it as incandescence. Absence of heating, that is a luminescence. So this thing you have to keep in the mind now. Now if I go for some finalizing this fluorescence and phosphorescence. Okay, let me see. Simple, we will start it here. Now here spontaneous emission of electromagnetic radiation will be there. Spontaneous emission of electromagnetic radiation. Okay, spontaneous emission of electromagnetic radiation. The glow of fluorescence stops right after this also is a spontaneous emission of electromagnetic radiation. But here what happens, the glow of fluorescence stops. The glow of fluorescence stops here. Okay, once the radiation after the source of excitation radiation is switched off, after the source of excitation radiation is switched off. Okay, so this is what, but here what happens here is glow, it glows, no? That's called an afterglow. With afterglow will be there here in phosphorescence, afterglow. Okay, so afterglow will be there in a fraction, for a fraction to see up to hours. Okay, even fraction of seconds to hours, I can say afterglow will be there. That is even after you stop the switch of the radiations, excitation radiation, whenever excitation radiation, even if it's switched off, you can see the afterglow for seconds, fraction of seconds, or for the hours here in phosphorescence. Okay, so this is what here the light production by absorption here. Next you can see the light production by absorbance of UV light, absorbance of UV light. Okay, so resulting in immediate emission of visible, resulting in immediate emission, resulting in immediate emission, okay, of visible light, immediate emission of visible light. Okay, so same thing here also, the resulting in emission of visible light an extended period of time. So here extended period of time, extended period of time, this is a small difference here. Okay, so here also light production by the absorbance of the UV light resulting in immediate, not here extended period of time. Okay, emission will be there but extended period of time in phosphorescence, but here it is in a limited period of time. Okay, limited period of time. So this is the third difference you can give, and some of the examples you can give like fluorescent dyes in detergents. Okay, so this example you can give, and here you can see this also you have seen most of the objects you can see coated with phosphorus, coated with phosphorus. Okay, so this also best example you can give here. And finally one more difference you can give here is the ground state to singlet state to back. Okay, ground state to singlet state. So here what happens, ground state excitation to singlet state and then back, and then comes to back to ground state. But here what is there, so from ground state to triplet state, this is important here, triplet state and then to back to ground state, this is a case here. Okay, so in phosphorescence ground state to triplet state and back to ground state. So this is the next last I can say the example you can give it here. Now finally one more important here asked is your Jablonski diagram of fluorescence, Jablonski, okay, diagram of fluorescence. Okay, what is this Jablonski in the fluorescence, Jablonski diagram of fluorescence? I will take it here, 1 2 3 4, this is your S naught, 2 3 4, S1, S2. Okay, so these are different and you can see here, so this is excitation. So S naught is a ground state here, state energy level, singlet spin state, this is your called singlet spin state, and there is excitation here, this is the energy. Okay, this is the energy here like this, and now you can see from here there is excitation here, okay, on the S1 state here, and then you can see here there is loss of some energy here like this. Okay, and you can see here after that there is a dotted line here like this, then again you can see there is coming this way, and finally you can see the like this. Okay, so this is how we can show, and this all things are called new 0, new 1, new 2, new 3. Okay, so these all are vibrational, I can say vibrational relaxation. Okay, vibrational relaxation, vibrational energies. Okay, so same thing for all, for new S1 state also, new 0, new 1, new 2, new 3. So these are all called. Okay, and this is what your fluorescence, this is your fluorescence emission will be there, and here electron will be like this. Okay, so singlet spin state will be there and the excitation takes place here. So with the excitation by electromagnetic radiations, and these are the different energy states here. Okay, S1, S2, and from then you can see here, so energy the relaxation, the vibrational relaxation will be there. So electron comes here like this, and during which it will emit some thermal energy, during which it will emit some thermal energy is released during this. Okay, during this case, and this is you are called as some internal conversion. Okay, so this is internal conversion, internal conversion. Okay, internal conversion will be there. Again there is a relaxation vibration, and finally it comes to ground state here. Okay, immediately. So this is called by Jablonski way of the diagram here, and where S and S2 are the singlet excited state here, S1, S2, and fluorescence during all this transition, spin state is kept same here. So whatever the spin state is there in this, so it is kept spin state whatever is there is kept same. Okay, so this is what we can see in the fluorescence. But if you see in the same thing for the phosphorescence, same thing I'll put here. Okay, this is S0, S1, S2, and there is definitely excitation here in phosphorescence. Again here loss of some internal this will be there, and this is what your internal transition here like this, and again here there will be like this loss. But here at the same time you can see 1 2 3 4, there is a T1 here state. Okay, and where you can see it will come here like this. Okay, like this. So start with here in this way, and it even state is there here. So this is coming here. So this is what the difference between, and finally you can see from here it will come to downward. Okay, this is your phosphorescence. This is your phosphorescence. So here also same thing here. Vibrational relaxation is there. Vibrational relaxation will be there. This is internal conversion. This is your internal conversion. Okay, internal conversion crossing. Internal conversion crossing, it is also called as IC conversion crossing, ICS. Okay, and this is your intersystem. Okay, intersystem will be there where you can see the electrons have the parallel spin here. So here electrons have parallel spin. Okay, electrons have the parallel spin, that's why there is a problem here. Okay, so while it comes, so same spin will be there, and that's why it will be Laporte spin forbidden transition. Here it is spin allowed transition, but here it is phosphorescence spin forbidden here. So, okay, and same thing here. So this is what about the phosphorescence here. Okay, and this T1 is a spin forbidden, as I said here. So this T1, it is a spin forbidden. Okay, and that's what it happens here, that it will not come like this. It will take some time here for storing. Population will be more here at the metastable condition here, metastable state we say it here, and that's why while coming it will not be so favorable condition for the electron to come ground state immediately. Okay, that's why it takes some time because of the spin forbidden. Here already plus half is there, here also plus half will be there, but here not like that here. Okay, so whatever it goes, so it comes back to the opposite sign here. So okay, singlet to singlet will be there, but here not. Singlet to triplet will come here, and from triplet to again singlet. So that is a problem here, that's why spin forbidden, and that's why it stores some energy here. Okay, and when it store energy, so it has to lose the energy. Okay, store energy, and when it loses the energy, it slowly it comes down here like this. Okay, and that's why what will happen, it will phosphor. But when the moment you remove this now, the moment you remove this incident light, what will happen now? There are many population, there is many electrons gathered here in this state. Okay, because of weak transition here, and even if you remove this now incident light, what will happen? They are to lose the energy, they slowly come here. They lose the energy, they phosphor. They lose the energy, they phosphor. They lose the energy like this, and that's why even after losing removing the switch, offing this incident light, you can see this site of substance still they glow in the dark. Okay, why they glow? Because of this process. But in phosphorescence it's not possible, it's very fast. Okay, because of the spin allowed transition here. So you can see here, so you can find here, so the spin is going to come down with the same spin multiplicity here, and that's why this is okay. Okay, so this is what I think I have taken a maximum here to make you understand from 1 to 2 part here of the molecular luminescence spectroscopy. So hope this I complete here. Okay, so I have taken 1-2 part here for molecular luminescence spectroscopy and examination point of view, and whatever the research point of view regarding the fluorescence spectrometry. I have told you this is what some more Jablonski most probably this type of this they may ask in this one. Okay, so that is what, and you can see that the fluorescent material usually they produce visible or invisible light. Okay, so you should remember this: fluorescent material produce, okay, produce visible or invisible light. Okay, as a result of incident light, of shorter wavelength. Okay, that is your X-ray, UV rays, like this, etc. Okay, this thing you have to keep in the mind. The fluorescent material, okay, the fluorescent material produce visible or invisible light as a result of result of incident light of shorter wavelength. Okay, so that is your x-rays or UV rays, etc. So this is one thing you have to keep in the mind. So okay, fine. So this is what about this total molecular luminescence spectroscopy here. And finally, so 100% we have completed the unit 3 here. Okay, so my next video will start from now unit 4, the last chapter for your semester, fourth semester. Okay, and by target by 25 to 30th of this month, the completion of fourth unit, that is your total 100% syllabus completion. This is our target. Okay, thank you.